Hello and welcome. This is the Boss Body Podcast, and I'm Sarah Haas, and I am so glad you decided to tune in today. I have a special guest, and I'm really excited to talk to her because she's going to share some really great things that we can use in our own lives, especially if you are an empath. So, in just a minute, we're going to explain exactly what that is. But today I have with me Robin Fitzsimons. She is the founder of Robin's Center for Wellness, which is located in Platteville, Wisconsin. And she is a spiritual teacher and healer. Robin, it's awesome to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So, tell us just a little bit about you to get started so we can kind of know what you do and a little bit about your history.
Okay. Well, I spent 22 years as a graphic designer in the corporate world before I started doing this. And as an empath, I wish I would have known a lot of the things I know now when I was there. But um, being there also taught me a lot of lessons about what things I needed to learn too. I had to go through some of those things. So
Life
eventually
is
I
the
just
best
found
teacher,
that
isn't it?
absolutely. Yes. Eventually, I found my path and left the corporate world and started my own business. Started out with life coaching and then added Reiki. And I started in 2011. And I kept getting the card teacher. I draw oracle cards and angel cards, and I kept getting the card teacher, teacher, teacher. And I kept saying, no, I'm not a teacher. And guess what I am now? So I grew up really shy and didn't want to talk in front of anyone. So I, even looking back in hindsight, my whole journey brought me to this. Did things that pushed me to talk in front of groups, and now it doesn't bother me anymore. So, being an empath, that's hard too, just being in groups because you take on other people's energy. So, finding ways to clear your energy and protect it has been instrumental in moving forward.
So tell me a little bit about that for those that are listening who haven't heard the term empath or who have possibly heard it but not really sure what that means. What is an empath and how do we know if we are one?
Well, have you ever walked into a room and just feel other people's energy, or it changes your mood? You walk up to a friend and you say, "What's wrong?" and they say nothing, and you're like, "No, I know something's wrong." You just know, you feel it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, you feel it in your
So
body.
yes, yes. And not everyone does, but empaths feel things very strongly. And um, the issue is, I mean, it can be a blessing and a curse. It's good that you can feel things because you can tune into things, but knowing how to clear that energy and protect yourself is important too, because if you start taking everybody's energy on, you could have thoughts or feelings or emotions that aren't yours. And then we have a hard time getting clarity for ourselves, tuning into our intuition. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh
Have
yeah.
you had
And
it happen to you?
yeah, oh, absolutely. I learned a while back that I'm an empath. And I think most people know the word empathetic, which is a
Yes,
really great trait to have because you can put yourself in the place of someone and see things from their perspective and feel how it would feel for them. And that gives you so much compassion and, such
right.
a connection with other people. However, as you said, it can also, really affect you if you take on too much of other people's energy in a way that it affects you. I know that I've had that. I have to limit my consumption even of like news on television
Oh, absolutely.
when I hear heartbreaking stories and things about war, even like movies
Mhm.
that, put me in the place
Or those
of
animal commercials.
yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many like Olympics commercials I've cried over.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and so I have
Yeah.
to, protect my own feelings and also I work with women who are struggling and who are
Yeah.
feeling things deeply. And I want to help them with that. And I want to help them navigate it. But at the same time, I can't absorb all that. And it's
Right.
kind of like people who take their work home with them and they just, worry. And, I know a
Yeah.
lot of people in like healing and caring professions are empaths, and that's what drew them to that. So,
Yes.
nurses, people in the medical field, teachers, moms.
The other thing that we need to remember is everybody has their own journey and we can't save them all. Because empaths tend to want to help everyone and save everyone, especially our closest friends and family and kids. And, we want to do it for them, but you're
Mhm.
taking their lesson away if you're trying to do it for them too. So you have to let go a little bit there as well.
Yeah, you're hurting for them and you want
Yeah.
them not to hurt. But
Hmm.
like you said, you can't do someone else's work for them, or they don't
Right.
work through it and learn their own lesson and get what they needed to get
Right.
out of that experience. But yeah, that's another,
Yeah.
where we tend to overreach and,
Yeah.
get into other people's business,
Yeah.
not in a bad way, but in a way
Right.
that we want
Well,
to help them.
empaths tend to worry about everyone, and then you can take on without even being around other people. You're holding on to everyone else's worry and fears and all that energy too, and then that just keeps building up and building up and building up. So it makes it hard for you to get clarity for yourself because you're cluttered with everyone else's stuff.
Yeah, and I know that you said a lot of times it can be hard for empaths to be in large groups of people, and I've experienced that. I've almost had, like, I won't say a full out panic attack, but I've had anxiety where I've had to take a step away and kind of go
Right.
outside, and just it's just like too much stimuli coming at you all at once.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly,
Yes, very
overwhelming.
overwhelming. Yeah. A couple of things I teach clients when they come in for Reiki, or because usually when people come in for sessions, they're empaths and they're carrying everyone's energy. And the biggest thing is to get everyone else's stuff off of them first, and then we can deal with what they have going on. So one simple thing that I do is just like in your head, just visualize rain or water coming down over the top of your head and all the way down over your body, and take some deep breaths and just visualize it all washing away as you're taking those breaths, washing over your feet. Because if you're carrying that at night, it can make it hard to sleep at night too. So if you've been around a lot of people, it could make it hard to sleep when you get home. Or if it keeps building up and building up and building up. So a good thing to do at night before you go to bed is just to do that, a quick meditation, or look up a guided meditation for clearing online, um, and just let it all wash away. Just let it all go.
That I love that. Just hearing you say it is kind of calms my nervous system. And, so many of us, including myself, struggle with anxiety,
Yeah.
clinical anxiety. And, I
Right.
grind my teeth and I clench my jaw and, my stomach's tight and I have trouble sleeping. And it's great that you're offering one possible reason with a solution that, hey, you need to kind of take a look at what's your predisposition?
Yeah.
What are you in this world, and know that you can use this gift because it is a gift. It's
Right.
wonderful. It's helping, it's healing. You can do so much and be a teacher for other people,
Yeah.
but in the same vein, self-care is so important. So
Yeah.
anytime we can learn self-care practices, I am 100% on board.
And you'll see a lot of other ways to clear your aura. Your aura is your energy body around you. And when we're empaths, we take on energy in our aura. So your aura keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because it's all full of everyone else's stuff. And then eventually you could be going through the grocery store, and two aisles over, people are picking up you're picking up their stuff because your aura is so huge. Does that make sense?
Wow, yeah, I never thought of it that way. And I know,
So
some
clearing
of
it and
my
then moving it back in is important to about arm's length out. So someone has
oh,
to be an arm's length out to be in your bubble. Like that's your
mhm.
bubble,
It's
you
like your
know?
personal space.
Yeah. So
And
clearing it is important or it's going to keep popping back out.
so explain that about the aura a little bit, the energy field, because I know a lot of people have heard that term, but don't really know
Yeah.
exactly what that means. You know, you'll
Yes.
hear like people read your aura or your aura has different colors for those who can see it. And some people may believe
Yeah.
that that's true and some people may not. But the fact
Yeah.
is, we're made up of energy. The entire universe is made
Yes.
up of energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, so your aura is your energy body around you, and you can actually learn to feel it and learn to see it. Like some people are just naturally more, their clairvoyance is more open, so it's easier for them to see. Um, but we all feel it, especially if somebody who hasn't had a Reiki session before and after, they feel so heavy because it actually literally weighs you down when you are picking up everyone's stuff, and they get up and they're like floating out of the space. Um,
So it's kind of like
so
what you said about doing the visualization with the rain washing over
yes,
you, but you're doing it more hands-on. It's
yes,
a more passive way
yeah.
of clearing that energy.
So to clear your aura, you can. There's other ways to clear it too. You might have heard like using sage or using selenite crystal. That you can wave that through your aura, and that clears your aura too. And I use that in sessions as well. But I like to teach the water one because I don't want somebody to be out and about and feel like they need to do a clearing and they're like, I don't have my selenite or sage, I can't do it. So visualization is easy no matter where you're at, but clearing it is important before trying to bring it in. So what you can do to feel your aura is just put your hands together in front of yourself and rub them together until they get like friction or energy, and then bring them 4 to 6 inches apart, and you kind of feel that energy between your hands. Have you ever done that before?
I have.
And then kind of slowly turn it towards your body and let the energy just keep pushing your arms out until you feel like you're at the edge of your aura. It'll stop pushing. If your aura is big, your arms are going to be open so wide that you can't go any further. So then you want to clear it. Just visualize that rain or water. You can use your hands to kind of clear the energy away if you need to help with that, and take some deep breaths and let it all go. And then take your hands out and just start scooping your aura in. And when you get in closer to your body, it'll just kind of suck right in till you're about arm's length out, and you'll feel it there. So that's how you bring your aura in, so that someone has to be right in your bubble, in your space.
Yeah, and I love how, you're describing it and in a way that's tangible because I am always preaching that we need to turn inward sometimes. We need to slow
Yeah,
down. We need to tap in like what's going on inside your body. So many of us are, even when I talk about food and eating, we're
yeah,
ignoring our hunger signals. We're ignoring our thirst signals. We're ignoring that we're tired and we're just pushing and pushing and going through our day. And then we wonder why we're exhausted. We wonder why we're stressed and anxious.
yes,
And this is just another thing that we need to tap into is what's happening with your energy and
right.
just
Well, and that
visualizing that as
cause
an
food
aura, I think
cravings.
is very helpful.
Yeah. And that can cause food cravings and things like that too, if you're carrying all this stuff and you're trying to fill a void that, you know,
Yeah, food boosts energy and food helps us feel, ironically, lighter. It kind of gives
yes,
you those feel good hormones in your brain. And
right.
so, if you are carrying a lot of other people's emotions and issues and whatever that is,
Yeah,
we all need to feel good. We all have to find ways to cope. And a lot of people will turn to food or they'll turn to alcohol or they'll turn to other
right.
unhealthy ways of coping with it because we don't know how to
Yeah,
do it. We don't know how to do it.
right. Well, that's one of the things that I noticed when I was working the corporate world. I would every night got so stressful. I loved my job when I started, and over the years being around people every day, and it just got stressful and toxic, and the unreasonable deadlines and all that. And um, I started noticing people saying, "Oh, I can't wait to go home and drink a bottle of wine." That was their way to decompress. And every day I would go home and I'd forget about it once I walked through the doors. And I go back and they're like, "Oh, I had 2 bottles of wine." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I just realized I wasn't gonna be in that spot where I was gonna be there for the next 20 years every night saying I'm gonna go home and drink a bottle of wine and not do something about it and take control. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what
I
kind of led me
admit
on my
I've dealt with things like that too. It just kind of
path.
helps you relax and unwinds you. And yeah,
Right.
I've absolutely turned to that sometimes in my life. And a lot of people I'm sure can relate. And if you have a stressful job, if you're stressed all
Right.
day long, you're
Yeah.
looking for something, you need something.
Yeah.
But it's so important to find healthy ways
Right.
to do that. Yeah.
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 Exercise, getting outside in nature, that also clears your aura. It keeps you grounded so that you can stay anchored. And so the other thing I want to talk quickly about is protecting your aura. So we talked about clearing it. The other piece that I usually teach people is also protecting it. So what you can do after you clear it, and especially in the morning, this is important if you're going to be around people, or even on Zooms, you can be picking up other people's energy if you're in a Zoom meeting and you work from home or whatever. Um, so just visualize rain, or not rain, white light coming down over the top of your head, and you can use your hands to draw it down around you if you want to, and all the way around your body like a cocoon, and all the way down over around your feet. And that's like a white light protection. So you don't take on other people's energy. You can still care and love and empathize and listen to people, but their energy is not going to stick to you like it would normally. So you can still be the empath and care, but you're not taking everybody's stuff home.
Yeah, and that's funny because even before I heard or knew about auras, I talked a lot about boundaries, because everything affects your health. It all goes back to how you're taking care of yourself. And so many of us struggle with boundaries because we
Right?
weren't taught to have boundaries when we were a kid. We didn't have the choice of whether or not
Yeah,
to have a boundary. And then we keep repeating those cycles later
yeah,
in life. And I've even described it as a bubble. Like, think about you have a protective bubble around you, and you know who you are and what your truth is and what you should do, shouldn't do with your own intuition. But if you don't keep it inside that bubble and keep other people's stuff out,
yes,
it will influence you and you'll be hit, like it's with like people pleasing. And I've heard
yes,
people say they feel like a chameleon because whatever group of people they're with, that's who they sort of change themselves into in
yeah,
order to be liked
because
and
you're
in order to
taking
be.
on their energy.
Yeah, you're taking on that energy, and they are, it's like you're untethered. Like you said a minute ago, you're not grounded. You're just
Mhm.
getting beaten back and forth by everybody else's wants and needs
Yes,
and all of that. So
yeah,
I really
you're
love
drained.
you're
Yeah,
drained. It's
yeah,
tired, so exhausting.
yes.
So talk about being grounded. Talk about what that means a little bit more.
So, being grounded is, I know your listeners probably don't know a lot about chakras yet, but your root chakra has to do with being grounded. It's your base of your spine down your legs. And earth angels and empaths tend to live in the upper chakras a little bit more. So the crown chakra at the top of your head is your connection to the divine, to the universe, to God, your angels, whatever you want to call it. And earth angels and empaths tend to live in those upper chakras. So when you're up there, it's hard to, it feels like your feet aren't even on the ground sometimes, or you might have a hard time focusing, be dizzy, lightheaded. So one thing I have people do too is just visualize a grounding cord coming down through the top of your head and all the way down your body and out your feet like roots into Mother Earth. And take some deep breaths, just 2 or 3 deep breaths down through that cord into Mother Earth, and that helps ground you. Especially in the winter, people are a little less grounded because we're not able to be outside as much. Being outside, digging in the dirt, going for walks, that all
I never
grounds you
thought
and
about
centers
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing with food that I think you might be interested in too with what you do is there are grounding foods. So think about when you're craving potatoes or root vegetables. They help ground you. And in the winter, we tend to go for the comfort foods like heavy casseroles or things that are heavy and weigh you down. So they give you a false sense of grounding. And we feel okay for a little bit, but then we're like, oh, now I feel heavy. So it just gives you that false sense of being grounded, but you're not really grounded.
Yeah, we're
So
searching for something to help us
yes,
feel that way, even though we don't
yeah,
realize that's what we're
right.
doing.
Yeah. So try doing a grounding and then see if you're still craving that casserole or whatever heavy thing it is, or
Hmm.
eat some protein. Protein grounds you too.
And I like what you said about, being up in your head, because I know that's my tendency is to
Yeah.
be a thinking rather than a feeling. I'm
Yes.
relying on my brain, and I get stressed, and I have
Mhm.
all these things I need to do, and I'm jumping around from one to the other instead of slowly focusing on one thing, and that affects my productivity, and it affects my stress level. And it's almost like all these thoughts and anxieties are swirling around in my head. And exactly what you said, it works for me. And it's always been going
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
because it's calming.
Yes.
There's wind, there's trees, there's the just
Mhm.
feeling the ground under your feet. And it's been scientifically proven to
Right.
lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate, reduce
Yeah.
stress.
Mhm.
And I do an exercise where even if I'm inside, even if it's cold and I can't go outside, where I just either sit or stand and I just imagine my feet being connected to the earth or to the floor, and then the earth under, and then all the way deep into the earth, like roots of a
Yes.
tree. Because that's the truth. That's gravity. That's magnetism. That is what's
Yes.
happening. We are attached
Absolutely.
to the earth, and the earth is steady and stable.
Mhm.
And just, any kind of way that you can bring yourself back to that is, oh
Mhm.
my goodness, it just reduces the stress so much.
Yeah. And then you're able to feel the answers instead of trying to overthink. Because when we can tap into our intuition, we know the answers. So that reminds me of something else I've had clients do is they're like, I don't know which decision to make. Should I go this way or should I go this way? And they have these lists, and I just tell them throw the list away, close your eyes and visualize being in that place and notice how it feels. And then visualize being in the other place and notice how it feels. Your body will tell you. No one else can tell you. Your list isn't going to tell you.
Hmm.
But when you feel it,
Yeah, we
that's your
tend to
answer.
rely on the brain, and we want to
Yes.
write out our pros and cons, and we want to reason it
Yes.
out, and we just keep going around and around and around in circles. And that
Yeah.
can be for so many decisions. It can be for your job, it can be for a relationship, it could be, should I do this? Should I buy this
Right.
house? Should I not? And,
Yes.
when you just stay in your brain, you really, intuition is the key. And intuition is something that's been laughed off and minimized for years.
Yeah.
In our society where the patriarchy rules, and, that's the masculine way of doing things is brain and action oriented. And that's why we on earth have a balance between the yin and the yang, the male
Right.
and the female. It's because, not to say that men don't have intuition or I don't mean to generalize in any
Yeah.
way. I'm just talking about leaning in to your masculine parts of you and your feminine
Right.
parts of you.
Even
And
women, when we're too much in our masculine, it's do instead of be.
right. And then we're completely missing out on something that we have been born with, that is one of our biggest tools, and that's our intuition. And I love that we're talking about this because it brings it to the forefront, and it helps us realize things about ourselves, about our society, and how we can make changes for the better. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what you're here for in the work that you do as well.
Right. And everyone has intuition, whether they know it or not. How many times have we had a feeling about doing something and did the opposite, and later we're like, oh, I knew I should have done that. So it's just really about tuning into it and following it instead of doing the opposite of, using our brain instead of our feelings.
And practice makes perfect, you know.
Right.
It's a
Exactly.
trial and error. It's mess up, try again, mess up, try again. And we're all on a learning experience here on earth, and it's a never ending it's a never ending
Right.
thing. But I love, that what you do provides tools for our learning, and tools to just live our best life, feel our best, be ourselves, and do what we were meant to do here on this earth. So I understand that you have some tools that people can access to uh, work on these kind of things for themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Some
Yeah.
resources?
On my website, I have a free download. It's basically a quick sheet of like telling about the clearing and protection that we talked about, and it has a short prayer like, please clear me of anything that isn't mine. I am willing to work with what is mine. So it's simple, and you don't have to say that. You can literally just visualize the rain or water, but some people like to have a prayer or something to start with to get them, to feel like they're doing something more. And then the clearing, it just goes through how to bring the white light down around you, and just a quick reminder. So that's out there to download if anyone is interested in that.
And I like that there are simple things that we can do. There are simple things that don't take forever. Sometimes we feel like this has to be so time
Yeah.
consuming, and you need to spend, 45 minutes a day meditating or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's overwhelming, and then it causes us never to get started. So I
Right.
love that you offer, a simple resource.
Yeah,
Takes minutes, literally minutes from your day, but can make such a big difference in your life
absolutely.
and your
I
health.
agree. And that's what I've been guided to do with teaching, is just trying to keep it simple for people, because I think we get ourselves overwhelmed thinking, oh, I can't do this, or I don't have time to do this. And we don't have to we don't have to make it so hard.
Yes, absolutely. So for people who want to access that free download, what is the website that they can go to?
It's www.wellnesswithrobin.com.
Excellent. So I'm going to put links in the show notes too, so that if you don't have a pen ready, you can access that and get all of Robin's great information. Thank you so much for being here today. I love what you do, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on and share it with us.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you all for being here and for listening in. And that's all we have for you today. And I will see you again next time.